Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Alexis. I am a blind author, content creator, and freelancer. If you are interested in any of my beta reading services, feel free to email me. The email is in the description. Essentially, I offer beta reading services for your manuscript. So if you are interested in getting your manuscript, your unpublished manuscript critiqued, I can give you some fresh eyes, and each 1,000 words is $1, so let me know your word count and so on. Anyway, with that out of the way though, welcome to this video. For today, I am reviewing My Sister the Serial Killer, a really good book if I do say so myself. I rather enjoy it, but as promised last week, I do have some announcements really quickly to make. So my channel has had, I think, a lot of history where I was posting a lot of like writing updates, like vlogs and some shorts and stuff like that. If you've looked at my channel, you would notice that all that stuff is gone right now. I decided to delete my writing related content because while I enjoyed my time, I don't think that's what I want to do with this channel anymore. I still want to market my books and stuff like that, but I don't want to record more writing content, and not all of it, was working. So I have deleted that. I will no longer be providing updates in videos on their own. Instead, I am going to be providing more stuff related to like analysis and reviews and stuff like that. Mostly book reviews. I may or may not step into analysis related to things like poetry if I am interested in very specific poems. I generally speaking, though, I do think reviews are a form of analysis. So definitely keep that in mind. I do think that reviews work for analysis. So that is something that I will mainly be offering. I'm trying to post once a week, hopefully, if not once a month. So that's kind of where we're at with that. So that's the main announcement. Things are just going to change slightly where I'm just going to, I got rid of writing content, reaction content, and I think that's the main one. I basically got rid of a lot of things that I just don't want anymore. And I am now focusing on the review side most of all. So that's kind of what you should expect in the channel coming forward. As for writing updates, I will give them to you actually in videos. I will probably be providing them through intros or outros and so on and so forth. So for now, I guess I can start now. So I guess writing update, I have been writing some poems. I'm in my semester right now as recording. You're seeing this in 2025, but I am still trying to get through the end of my semester. So I have not done as much editing as I would like in my second book for the Child of Death series. And that is right now a little over 18,000 words. Wow, I'm in novella territory. I'm intimidated and excited. So I'm hoping to do more edits on that. Right now, I'm working on targeted revisions for that because it's very much, right now, most of it feels good, right? A lot of it feels like it has been, like I won't have as many issues. Now all I have to do is get some of the stuff in, like clarifying some things, check for typos. So I'm in the last couple of stages of the editing. It has taken me a long time, but I am there, especially for a story that started with, I think, a little over 4,000 words. And now it's really, really long for me. And this will be the first novella I will publish. And I'm extremely excited for it. So because of that, I'm kind of just, I'm taking my time. Especially now that I am trying a new form of sleep. I'm doing some polyphasic sleep, and hopefully that will help me get more energy. So far, it's working a little bit. So it's kind of working out. But hopefully I will edit a little bit more soon, and I will hopefully have something out. The idea is to try to get it out by fall of 2025, but I promise nothing, basically. But I'm working as best as I can with as much energy as I have, and I'm doing my best. So that is my main update. You may not get an update for a couple of weeks because I might be editing these in batches. So with that in mind, though, welcome, I guess, I'll let you go to your regularly scheduled program, and I will see you on the other side. Bye. See you soon. So I some history with this book because I read it before. And while this is a bit of a recent reread, I have a different experience. But I will say that I do have some experience with this book. And I read it the first time, I think during the pandemic, maybe a year or two before. I can't quite remember. Wait, no. Was it the pandemic? No. It actually may have been a little bit sometime before the pandemic. And I read it because I read it specifically because the I got an email at some point about from Bookshare, which is basically one of my libraries of choice. Basically, it is an accessible online library for people who with reading barriers. And basically, what ends up happening is I get an email, and they mentioned that they have a book club, and I'm like, oh, book club, okay, cool. So they have this book club, and in this book club, they were reading this book at the time, and they're like, okay, this is what we're gonna read this month, and I'm like, oh, interesting. So I looked for it, and I put it on a wish list on Bard, and I'm like, well, I'm curious, I'll read it eventually. And at some point I started reading it. I'm pretty sure I was out with family when I read it, and I finished it in like a day or two, and I really liked it. And at the time I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was great, it was perfect. I have a different rating now and different talking points, so let's talk about that. That's what we're going to talk about now. So here is the synopsis for this book. When Corday's dinner is interrupted one night by a distress call from her sister, Ayola, she knows what's expected of her. Bleach, rubber gloves, nerves of steel, and a strong stomach. This'll be the third boyfriend Ayola's dispatched in, quote, self-defense, and the third mess that her lethal little sibling has left Corday to clear away. She should probably go to the police for the good of the menfolk of Nigeria, but she loves her sister, and, as they say, family always comes first. Until, that is, Ayola starts dating the doctor where Corday works as a nurse. Corday's long been in love with him and isn't prepared to see him wind up with a knife in his back. But to save one would mean sacrificing the other. My Sister, the Serial Killer, is a blackly comic novel about how blood is thicker and more difficult to get out of the carpet than water. Now, first of all, before I begin my review of this book, I want to issue a content warning for mentions of physical abuse. There is, I think, one explicit as well, so there is that. So I want to issue that content warning. I really won't be talking about it in this video, but the book does have it, so be aware of that. I don't want you to kind of go in with like some without getting that warning. I would not want that. So yeah, keep that in mind while you read. What else? Okay, I think those are all the content warnings, but yeah. Anyway, so that's that. The prose of this book is very good. I genuinely really, really enjoyed it. I think it was really well done. I think that I think that it was really well written. The story is kind of told only in Corday's point of view. So we have Corday kind of just narrating the entire story. We don't get to learn that much about everyone else. We see them through her. Now, this is, I think, one of the potential pitfalls of first person writing. So unless you're doing multi POVs in first person, when you are stuck in one person's head, it's in my experience and in my opinion, based on things I have read in books, I find that first person writing can be difficult because you don't get to learn about all the characters all the time. You are very much stuck in the POV character's head. So, for example, a book I love actually falls into this, especially when it comes to backstory. So, spoilers for Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Wings and Ruin. So, in A Court of the first couple of books in A Court of Thorns and Roses, before the spin-off came up, we have it being told mainly in Feyre's point of view. And then A Court of Wings and Ruin does include one chapter, I think like 2 chapters in Rhysand's point of view, and then A Court of Frost and Starlight switches between first person for Feyre and Rhysand, and then we have some third person point of views of Morrigan. We have one for Nesta. We have one for Cassian. But we somehow didn't get one for Azriel. Not happy about it. But okay. The queen has made her decision. But the point is, there is a part of the story that we have. I'm not gonna spoil too much, but I will. Actually, I'm gonna spoil the big part. Basically, we have a part in the story where Morrigan and Feyre argue over the fact that she did something that could potentially be dangerous and didn't let anyone else know, and they Feyre kind of confronts her about lying to herself, and because Feyre lied to Morrigan. So Feyre is like, you want to talk about lying? You've been lying to yourself the entire time. At least be honest to yourself or whatever. Like, right? And they had an argument over this. And then after Feyre went to free Elaine because she got taken by the Cauldron, Morgan and her talk. And we have a monologue of Morrigan basically in the story coming out as bisexual. And it is very clunky because we get her talking throughout this monologue. She kind of monologues her life a little with her dad and what happened between her and Eris. And we have her kind of just basically, while she didn't outright say bisexual, she did say that she did imply that the text does imply, based on what she says, that she's coming out as bi. And it is very clunky because we're basically mainly in Feyre's head. We're not seeing Morgan's point of view, but also because it's just honestly, I think that this is a very clunky way to hold on, sorry. I think that this is a very convoluted way of introducing a bi character in general. But this is one of the pitfalls, right? That you're stuck in one person's head, so you only get to see their point of view while the other character says whatever they might be saying. So it's something that I think is, it can be, I think when writing in first person as an author, I like it, but I only like it in certain circumstances now. It used to be my point of view of choice. But I think as an author, I kind of realized that there is a lot. First person can be very limiting because you're stuck in someone's head. So because we're stuck in Corday's head, we don't really learn about the other characters, and they feel slightly flat in areas. I mean, the even Iola feels. I mean, you can. We she seems kind of like childish in areas, but I can't seem to. It's hard to get a grasp on a lot of the characters because we're stuck in Corda's head. So I think that's one of the pitfalls of first person writing. However, when it comes to I think it can work, but when it comes to Corday, we also, which is something that we usually don't get with first person, we also, it's hard to also be like know her here and there. Like we know enough about her in this in like because we're in her head, but Corday doesn't always feel like I don't know how to describe what I'm trying to say. I also don't even know if I wrote this in the blog post, so I haven't edited, but Corday does feel um, flat. She might feel kind of a bit disappointing for readers just because she doesn't necessarily go through an arc. Corday does not go through an arc. None of these characters go through an arc. And I don't think it's necessary for characters to go through arc. It could be external stuff happening, but the story sets us up for her to go through an arc. I will say, however, that for the story, what happens in the end does make sense. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but I wanted kind of just to go there. The pacing is good. It's kind of like a really slow thriller, and it's really, it's okay. It's good. I talked about the characters here and just telling you kind of how I feel about them. But the other thing I found very interesting regarding like the writing in general is that we have like the chapter titles, and we just have in some title chapters in some like chapter titles repeat, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, no, so we don't have like an arc for these characters, and I think that's okay. I think for the story it kind of makes sense. And the ending, I want to talk about the ending without spoiling the ending. So basically, we don't get what would be a satisfying ending. We don't get that. Instead, the ending takes us back to square one. Now, as a reader, this is not satisfying, right? But the thing is, I look at it, and looking at it as a reader, I do think there is something to be said about satisfying endings for the reader and then satisfying endings at work. This is not a satisfying ending for the reader. The way that the story ends is not a satisfying ending for the reader at all. It is an ending that I think we would not be expecting, because we are kind of like, okay, why do we have this ending? You know what I mean? I think the ending needs some work. Not need some work, but like if you want to make it satisfactory to readers, I think this is one of those things that is just not going to work for all readers. However, it does work for the story and what it's trying to tell. So at the same time, I will say I feel conflicted by the ending, because it does work for the story, but it just doesn't work for, but it can't be, it's not something that is satisfying. It just works. Besides that, the only thing I want to say about the story now is the there's a lot of social commentary in there, and I think the social commentary is really good. There's a lot about like social class and the way that they may be treated differently, especially I guess they're in Nigeria. So I really liked it. I think that the social class commentary is good, and I think that also you can argue that there is also some commentary for toxic relationships based on the way the story ends. So yeah, it may not be a perfect ending, and it may not be a satisfying ending for a reader, but it does work with the story, and I will give it that. So instead of 5 stars, this book gets 3 stars. Not one, sorry, 3 stars. So we still have a solid book, and I still enjoyed my time. Let me know if you have read My Sister the Serial Killer, and let me know what you think. I'd be very curious to see what you think about this book and about the ending especially. So yeah, let me know in the comment section. And if you're about to spoil anything, please let me know. Let us all know. That way, people don't have to get spoiled if they don't want to, like, if they haven't read it, if they don't like spoilers. So let us know, and then spoil. Okay, hello. I'm glad you were able to make it through my past versions review of this. Now, I want to take a moment to disagree with them a little bit because there is one thing I am very much in disagreement with about the review I gave in this book. But before that, I actually want to talk a little bit more about first person writing. I very much pointed out the negative, I think, of first person, but there are very good, positive, and effective uses of first person out there, and I think they're very fun and they're great. So for me, I've used first person. Actually, before, first person was my preferred writing style. I preferred writing in first person point of view. It kind of just felt right for me. I started off as a teenager, and it just fit. It fit well, and I think that the stories I enjoyed the most were written in first person. So I was very much trying to emulate that, and you know what? That makes sense. It makes sense to me that I would want to emulate that. I've still do that to some degree now, but now I generally write in a third person omniscient. I'll explain that in a little bit, but for now, I do want to talk about the uses of first person a bit, effective uses, I think, in the things I found in my writing. So in my writing, like I said, I write in third person omniscient, but here are uses that I have, here are ways that I've used first person. So about a year or so ago, I attempted to write a dark romance, and I wanted to write a villainous character, and manipulative characters. So I originally, I decided and I realized that the best way to do that for me so that I can get into that character's voice was first person. So that is what I did. I basically went in I wrote a bunch of stuff in first person. Now I ended up deleting about 29,000 words of that romance because it wasn't very good. It wasn't where I wanted it, but it was a really fun exercise. The thing with third person that I find is that it didn't help because third person is a bit more distant. I think the only way I would have been able to do that, and even then, I don't think I actually would have, but theoretically, the way that I would have been able to do that is if I used third person limited, where I am specifically in that one character's head, but I am writing in third person. And it's not a point of view I don't love that point of view as much. It's not bad, but I mean, I like it, but it's not my writing style. I started writing third person present tense when, or at least exploring the idea of third person present tense when I read Casey McQuiston's Red, White, and Royal Blue, which was in her books, or their books, I'm sorry, are generally written in third person present. And it's limited. And that's kind of what gave me the idea of writing in third person present. And I was like, I'm in. I like it. I like it a lot. It was kind of like when I read first person present, it was like, wow, this is so new and awesome. And now I want to know about it. So I generally write in the third person omniscient. So that for me means that the narrator that I write in knows everything and stuff like that. So instead of a limited point of view, I give myself permission to jump between different point of views. I give myself permission to, in the scene, to say, oh, I am in Martha's point of view, but Martha said something and the other character has thoughts, so I'm going to switch to that other character. So I give myself that permission, and that works really well for me. I know that kind of writing is not popular anymore. Like, that is writing that used to be, I think, more popular. I think well, actually, maybe not when I started reading as a teenager, because when I started reading at that time, I was reading older books from the early 2000s. So I don't know when this was popular, but I don't think it is as popular now. But I still write it. It is my preferred way to write a story. But in first person, another way that I use first person is a short story I am also currently in edits in. Not as much. I kind of work on it occasionally. And it is a story called A Special Friend. And it basically is about a character who it's told in a letter format. So this character writes a letter to her childhood best friend. And it's a doll. And it talks about I'm not really spoiling that much because you actually find out, I think, within like the first page of the story. It talks about it explores childhood innocence and other things related to childhood and things in that format, and the idea of toys in your life. But I did originally plan to write it in third person. It was actually going to be third person limited because it was only going to be in that point of view. As I was writing, I realized it just wasn't working. I am a mood writer, and I really listen to vibes, if you will, when I write. And if something doesn't feel right, I will delete and rewrite and delete and rewrite until it does. And in that one, it felt better to write in first person. So I wrote it that way, and it's good. I really enjoyed that experience, and I hope to write more stories like it. Another really effective use of first person is to illustrate an unreliable narrator, like in the book The Perfect Girlfriend. The Perfect Girlfriend follows someone who in the beginning you believe is in a committed relationship and is about to get married, until you find out that she's actually stalking a man, and you don't quite know why or what the hell is happening. Because she leads you to believe that the man that she's supposed to be marrying, like, hints are dropped. Like, she's like, he's not ready for a committed relationship or whatever. So I have to do this thing, but I have to run. And it's like, it becomes a bit of a mystery. And you can kind of tell as things are being revealed through the story that she is definitely an unreliable narrator. And a lot of stuff happens. I'm not going to spoil it. It is a book I will be reviewing. I do have a full spoiler review of it. I think it's like 45 minutes long. So, hopefully that whets your appetite and you'll come back for that soon. But the point is, though, is that I can say that this is one of those books that's sort of like, it's good. It's an effective use of first person. But because we are in someone's head, we do have to understand the negatives as well, which is usually what I go with when I read certain first person books. Now to disagree with myself. So I said I was conflicted about the ending. I'm not very conflicted anymore. I do think it was a satisfying ending. It makes sense, right? It makes sense. The thing with endings being satisfying and unsatisfying, I think, is that it may not be satisfying for the reader in that it doesn't have the ending we expect. For example, in the same book, The Perfect Girlfriend, the way that it ends suggests that the cycle that she was doing, like the things that she was doing, will keep going on and on and on. As in, he does not want to be in this relationship, but she will force him in it, and a cycle will continue to be repeated. And that is not a satisfying ending. I was just like, why? Why are we getting this ending? But it was only like not reader satisfied, not like story unsatisfying. I think the difference between a satisfactory ending for a story is whether it fits the story or does not. Does it make sense with the characters that we are following? Does it work? And in My Sister, the Serial Killer, it does, because this is who Cora Day is. So it makes sense that her ending will not be satisfying in the way that we would want, but it is absolutely satisfying because it fits the story. So not conflicted anymore. I am not conflicted about that ending anymore. I think it works. If anything, I would encourage you to give it a try, especially in an audiobook. It's like a 4-hour listen. So I don't think it will take too much time out of your day. The other thing I kind of wanted to mention is the character arc stuff. So the thing with character arcs is that not every character has to have a character arc. Sometimes the character doesn't need to change, but society does need to change for them. So sometimes the arc is specifically having things change around them because of different reasons. And In this case, though, I don't think that is what happens, but I did just want to kind of mention that. In conclusion, this is a great book. I would absolutely recommend it. It's a really fun book, and it has a lot of social commentary, and it's written really, really well. So I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll see you next week for another one. If you enjoyed my content, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you are aware. If you want to support what I do here, check out my books, linked in the description. You can get beta reading services from me, as mentioned in the beginning of the video. You can email me, or you can find me on Fiverr, also linked in the description. Or if you would like Ko-fi, I also have beta reading commissions open there. You can also buy my books there, because I do have a bookshop there. Or you can set a one-time donation in order to support me that way if you would like. Everything will be linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, consume stories. Bye.